Good morning, everyone. Jim Laird here from Largo, Florida. Another beautiful fall morning here in Florida. Hope you're doing well today. Some things we have on deck. We're actually we did our first weekly webinar yesterday. It was on EMF, pollution, and testosterone. If you're on our email list, you've got a invitation to join that. And we're going to be doing those free webinars every Thursday, completely free. Like, it's not a sales webinar. It's just, we're constantly adding to our courses, and we figured we'd invite you guys to come and watch that content for free and just provide value to you guys. So if you go on our email list, just go to stillmanwellness.com, and when the 5 biggest health mistakes pops up, just throw your email in there. Every Wednesday night, we'll be sending out an email with Thursday's webinar link for you to register and to sign up for it, to sign in and watch it. You can even ask questions on it as well. Excuse me. So that's just a little special privilege for you for being on our email list. We appreciate it. We're doing another webinar. We love webinars, but we're doing another webinar specifically on blood pressure, which is going to be on the 23rd. The link to register for that webinar is in the description. It'll take you to StreamYard. You'll register for that. And that's at 11 a.m. on the 23rd of September. And then we have all sorts of other stuff too. Dr. Stillman's going to be doing with Clark Engelbert an HTMA webinar every month to talk about all things HTMA, hair tissue analysis. That's been really fun to learn about. How to integrate that and looking at that. I actually did one about 2 months ago, and I've been doing some things to help clean me out a little bit, which has been very interesting, learning a lot. So other than that, really looking forward to having a good weekend. We've got 2 in-person visits today, which is always fun. Fridays, we do our in-person visits for our either annual plans or executive wellness plans on the medical side. So it's fun to see people in person. I love, my passion is actually training people in person. I like doing virtual coaching, don't get me wrong, but I love training people in person. I just refuse to do it indoors all day anymore. That's why I'm building a gym in Nicaragua. So I'm really looking forward to getting down there and actually starting to work with a few people in person for fun these days than I just enjoy it. I just don't want to do it inside. So the topic today, the 5 top overlooked health and wellness tips. And of course, the powers that be suggested secrets to transform your life, something along those lines to, for the algorithm. So I would say my top 5 overlooked health and wellness tips would be number 1. And these are in really no particular order. But Christian Thibodeau and I talked about this on our interview the other day. And, Christian's a very well-known strength coach. Been following him for years. And he said the number one thing you can do with your clients is teach them how to downregulate and relax and not allow someone cutting them off in traffic to ruin their whole day. Chronic stress is huge. And I would say it's probably one of the number one things I see and most overlooked, because most people have very little, including myself, good self-awareness. Good morning, by the way. Thanks for tuning in and watching. And please don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not subscribed. It really helps us out in the algorithm, because obviously, we're not talking about things that are highly driven in the algorithm. We're kind of doing an uphill battle, but we really appreciate you guys that are tuning in all the time. And the growth on both of our channels has been very impressive. Despite the fact that we don't really appeal to the algorithm that much. So that says a lot about you guys being consistent and tuning in. But even Christian was like, the number one thing you teach your clients is how to relax and how to not let everyday life events turn into these massive stressors that really, over the long haul, chronic stress really just destroys their health. So teaching people how to relax, and this takes time, and most people don't understand how much work it takes. Good morning, doctor. How are you?
Good morning, everyone.
I was just getting into number 2 of my top 5 overlooked health and wellness tips.
Yeah.
My number 1 was stress. And Christian even said this was the number one thing he could teach his clients is how to not let someone cutting them off in traffic destroy their whole day. So being able to shut off a chronic stress response is super important. And number two, it's a lot more. Good morning, David. Always good to see you. Number two, it's a lot more prevalent than when I got into this kind of circadian space years ago. It was kind of fringe. It's getting better now because of people like Uberman. But people still don't take their light seriously, and they don't understand like how important like circadian rhythms and sunlight really are for their lives. Like they just, I'm the only dork wearing blue blockers in Publix at like 6-7 o'clock at night, which I try not to go to places like that at that time. But I'm the only dork in there. Maybe I need to go to Whole Paycheck, or maybe I need to go to Trader Joe's and get.
No one wears blue blockers. They don't understand that artificial light at night is destroying their health.
Right. And most people still, you tell them that they need to get out inside more. Well, it's too hot. Well, you'll get used to it if you actually go out and spend some time outside. It won't be so hot anymore. Right.
And it's like smoking if you don't.
Right.
Equivalent risk of death.
Exactly. Number three is kind of relates to the stress one, but not chewing your food. I have to really slow down, put my phone down. I get in the habit of like eating while I'm in front of the computer, really slowing down, taking your time, chewing your food. And, a lot of people's digestive problems would greatly reduce if they just actually chewed their food, instead of just hammering it down. Number four, also related to stress, not breathing through their nose. People are, even we had a call with a guy yesterday, during the call, mouth open. I'm like, dude, you got to close your mouth, got to breathe through your nose. Oh yeah. Okay. People just get caught up in life, and they don't understand. If you go to Walmart, you look around at all the people that are breathing through their mouth like a freight train. Right. So slowing down, breathing through your nose, that's one of the more biggest overlooked health tips. That was 4, right? Number 5 is the government subsidizing the food that's making you sick. You had a post on your Instagram or on your YouTube that's gotten, I think it was shared on Instagram too. It was about how Gen Z needs to eat, real food.
Yeah.
And we need to normalize that. And of course, in the comments, it was, well, we can't afford real food. Well, I was like, you need to basically fire your government, because the government is the reason you can't afford a carrot that grows in the ground and a Twinkie that costs, that has a factory costs more than a carrot, because they subsidize the foods that are the refined foods, the highly processed foods. They subsidize those. And, you could go down that rabbit hole where it's all interconnected, and then, pharmaceutical companies and all. It's just, we can go down that rabbit hole if you want to. But that's my number 5 overlooked thing, is that the government is actually making it so that, and you look at the European countries, they have a lot different.
I wrote about this rules in my book. It's all in my book.
It's all in his book right there. Dying to Be
Go
Free.
The
audio book coming soon. There's also going to be a revised version. So that's my top 5 overlooked. Stress management, light. Number 3 was what was number 3? I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's my. You're
just making this up as you go, aren't you, Jim?
I'm not, but I had
You're
a little
not?
brain.
You sure?
I'm not. I'm sure. I'm positive. It's all in there somewhere. But yeah, it was those. Yeah. Okay. Your turn. Your 5.
All right. My 5 that I was just writing down: breathing mechanics, exercise, minerals, quiet / meditation, and then macros. So let's walk through these. So breathing mechanics. So many people come to us and they've heard about Buteyko, or they've heard about Wim Hof and Tumo, or they've heard about breathing. They may have taken a breathwork course, gone to a breathwork, whatever, retreat, seminar. I've even had breathwork coaches come to me whose breathing mechanics were totally dysfunctional. And it's because not many people understand, and I didn't know this until I worked with Jim, all the complexities of how the airway and the diaphragm are related to pelvic rib cage position. And once you get that, it's magic. It's just so fun to watch people get better. And people will have been through trainings, they'll have read books, they'll have listened to podcasts, but they don't have the practical tips. I don't think I've seen anyone, let me just put it this way. The people who get the best results in this area are the people who actually coach with Jim and I, because we actually coach them through what they need to do. You know, when I ask Jim to make something like I just stopped asking him to do this, but when I ask him to make like a one size fits all exercise program, I can just see the gears turning in his mind, and he sort of has this look on his face like, I would rather try to put my head through the drywall over there, Leland, than come up with a one size fits all approach. Is that fair, Jim?
That's very fair.
To be fair, the
There are
drywall's
some
not that
things.
thick,
There
right?
are some things that will work well for some people, but like if I give you the same
Mhm.
resets that I give myself,
I
you're
know.
going to have a bad
A totally
outcome
different shape.
because you're compressed front to back. I'm
Right.
extended and inflated, whereas you're compressed. You can't inflate. That's why
Mhm.
you struggle to breathe, because you have like a 500-pound gorilla standing on your chest, right?
Mhm.
So we need to get air into your upper thorax, and that's where people, when you can't change the shape of your structure,
Mhm.
that's where you get into trouble. And so
So,
these people will
yeah.
be doing these breathing drills, but they don't have the structure variability. They don't have the shape that they need to change the breathing. Just because you're breathing a certain way doesn't mean the structure is doing what it needs to do. Once you give people the structure, then it becomes much easier for them to do the different types of breathing. You give them the shape change that they need to get the air into the places that they need to get air into. It's very hard for people to understand that. It took me a long time to figure that out too. So,
And then getting people the results that they're looking for with
and
that:
giving
better
people stuff they're
endurance,
actually going to do.
calm. Oh
You
yeah,
know,
absolutely. Things that are actionable and practical. So yeah, getting people the results with that though is what's rewarding. They're more calm, they're more relaxed, they're more focused, they are more stable in their mood. Yeah. So that's number one. Number two is exercise. I think that most people have a really warped view of exercise. They're either going to the gym and punishing themselves with crazy routines, whether that's HIIT or, really heavy lifting routines, and they're not actually doing any low level work that builds, as you call it, that foundation.
mhm,
And many of them don't realize that they're pushing themselves into a state of chronic stress, essentially, with their gym habit.
mhm.
Which isn't to say that I want you to stop exercising, but I've just seen so many people, their HRV is terrible, their sleep is not great, they're malnourished, they don't feel well, they don't have energy, and yet they're going to the gym.
Yeah,
You
they're driving that hyperinflated state, that rev state,
Mhm,
and they're not, and they don't know how to shut it off when they're done.
mhm,
It's so
right.
important to shut that off when you're done, so you can actually rest, because rest is where you actually get the results.
That's it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Number 3 would be minerals. So minerals are talked about often, but most people do not deal with them in a holistic, comprehensive way, and they don't treat the system as a whole system. That's what Clark and I are doing in our HTMA course and coaching. If you want more details on that, I need to actually add the waiting list to my link tree, because I know a lot of people are looking for that.
If they just go to your special offers page, or they go to
Oh,
our
that's right.
what's
It's on the
offered,
special offers page.
if
That's
you
right.
just click on the course, it'll take you right to the waiting list. If you
Right.
click on the coaching course, you'll be able to put your email in there, and then you'll have the opportunity to buy the course. And then we open the coaching up again, and I imagine you'll be opening the HTMA up again
We
fairly
will
soon,
be.
because we've sold a bunch of courses and we have about 40 people on that waiting list. So,
No, it's
uh,
150 now, Jim.
is it 150?
Mhm.
For heaven's sake.
I know.
Good goodness gracious, great balls of fire. I guess you'll be doing the HTMA course pretty soon here again.
We're thinking about it. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I mean, people need to realize that the mineral system is complex, and people will have these crazy ideas of, I need to take this, I need to take that. They're getting big imbalances in their mineral profile because they're taking this supplement and then eating this food on top of it that actually has a density of that mineral that they didn't know about. So we simplify people's lives. We take them off of supplements. We help them simplify their daily routine, figure out what they actually need to eat in order to have optimal levels of minerals. And when you get people's minerals balanced, they just come alive. I mean, there's
Yep.
no other way to put it, because the minerals run the show. They are the spark plugs of life. And when you get that wrong, nothing works well. Everyone feels terrible. When you get it right, man, people just fly.
Well, even if you get enough sun, if your minerals suck, you know, we see plenty of people that get plenty of sun and they're still struggling. And a lot of it too is because they can't shut off their chronic stress. And guess what? When you're under chronic stress, you're going to burn through those minerals.
And the fourth one would be quiet/meditation. So people don't realize that quiet, I mean, I actually look at silence as a vitamin. So vitamin is a really funny word. It's a portmanteau of vital and amine, because they used to think that vitamins were amine or had amine groups in them. They thought that they were part of the proteins. That's not actually true. Vitamins just happen to occur in protein-rich foods, which is part of why Jim and I are big fans of protein-rich diets. Those foods also tend to be very rich in minerals. Picking up some themes here, hopefully. So anyway, with vitamins, I think the idea of vitamins is very useful, but I think that they made the mistake of restricting it to a single group or category of cofactors and catalysts for reactions. People need to understand that all the elements in nature that you interact with, light, sound, electromagnetic radiations, vitamins, amino acids, I mean, all of these things are vital to your survival. You don't die acutely due to silence deficiency, but just your body needs silence. I don't know what else to say. And you
death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Right. I mean, constant noise drives people insane. It's actually one of the things they'll use to torture people, because it doesn't leave any marks. It's just very psychologically damaging to have music playing or noise playing all the time. So silence is golden. It's a really important tool for healing. And I say meditation in the same breath because I think that people need to be doing something to cultivate their internal, their mind, their internal self when they're in silence. And meditation is what I think most people who follow us probably are gravitating towards. And it can be prayer, it can be meditation, however you want to spend your quiet time. I just think it's important that you have it. And then dialing in what it should be is something we actually help people with on the coaching programs, because sometimes it's not as simple as just sitting quietly. So then the last thing would be macros. And when I say macros, I really refer to the major mistakes that we see people making with their meal composition, which is that they opt for low protein foods. They're eating, tons of fruit, processed foods loaded with fats and carbs. Even when they're not, they often unwittingly are eating a low protein diet. Even I, knowing what I knew about nutrition, was unwittingly eating a low protein diet when Jim and I started training together, or Jim started training me. And he showed me how much more protein I needed to eat and how to also get there. And we end up spending actually a lot of time coaching people into how to eat enough protein in a day, and also helping them understand what that number actually is. You will get a certain proportion of people who need more than just the recommendation of eat more protein. They need digestive enzymes to support their digestion. They need to change how they're preparing the protein. They need to change their protein source. They need to incorporate different sources of protein. All of this is detail that we cover, as I've mentioned, in our coaching programs. So those are my top 5.
Well, and the reason protein is so important, particularly animal protein, if you look at, like, and Thibodeau and I talked about this the other day, if you look at gorillas and cows, what do they spend all day doing?
They spend all day eating.
Eating. That's all they do. And I really, protein is one of the best ways to get the most amount of nutrition, the most amount of density from the least amount of calories. So you don't have to have 7 stomachs to digest all that grass. And you don't have to sit there and eat vegetables 8 to 10 hours a day. That is not how I want to be spending my time.
Yeah, I agree.
So
neither do I. Neither do our people. They want to be living their lives.
And I do not want to have gas like that. Oh, wow.
And on that note, thanks everyone for tuning in. Jim, I assume you did all the letting them know what we're up to.
I did all the letting them know what they're up to. Thanks for watching. And you guys have a great weekend. Make sure you get outside this weekend.
Make sure you get outside. Take care, everyone.